Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
It seems like Republicans and Democrats cannot agree on anything as divisions in the state and country seem to grow stronger between the two parties every day. That is apparently, unless you're talking about spending the taxpayers' money with as little input from the public as possible. Michigan's Democratic governor and the leadership in the Republican-controlled legislature apparently agree on a $60 billion budget plan that was put together pretty much in secrecy. Bridge, Michigan calls it the secret budget deal and reports it's a trend in a lack of transparency since COVID-19 hit. Joining us now on the Guy Gordon Show is reporter Jonathan Oosting of Bridge, Michigan. Jonathan, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So tell us about this budget deal, and did they end up voting on it today?
It's actually still in the process. The Senate voted on one of the two main budget bills this morning, and they're queuing up further votes this evening. It likely will have passed both the House and Senate and be on the governor's desk, or on its way to the governor's desk by this evening.
So why do you call it a secret budget deal?
Well, because pretty much nobody knew anything about it until this morning. This thing was negotiated entirely behind closed doors. Now, some negotiations in secret are not unheard of. In fact, are fairly common in state government. But the budget process is one that is typically actually quite transparent and usually takes months to play out through public debates, committee hearings, vetting. Not only the public, tax-paying public gets a chance to weigh in, but special interest groups that are going to be affected by a certain language inserted into the budget also get a chance to help vet the legislation for lawmakers so they make sure there's not unintended consequences. So, again, some closed-door negotiations always expected in Lansing, but to see it play out this way almost entirely until this morning when details were finally released just hours before the vote, it's pretty much unheard of. A lot of longtime Lansing folks I talked to said they'd never seen a budget cycle like this.
So is this one of those deals where they announced that there would be a hearing or an evening when you could have public input, but nobody showed up because of COVID? Or did they just say, we're not having any of that because of COVID, and we know what the public wants, we know what the public needs, we know how to spend the tax money, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put together our own budget.
Yeah, more the latter. There was one committee hearing this morning and one this afternoon. Those were announced yesterday. I mean, technically folks had 24 hours to get there, but they were announced they were going to hold these hearings, but didn't announce anything about what the budget bills were actually going to be. Again, those were revealed this morning, just minutes before that first committee met. They're, many, many pages in length, have many spending provisions and line items that no reasonable person could have reviewed and had an informed opinion on by the time they had committee hearings this morning.
What, including the people who were casting the votes?
Well, that's a good question. So rank and file lawmakers didn't get to see any details until yesterday. That's my understanding. That's from the Senate Appropriations Chairman himself. There's usually a couple levels of negotiations here, the governor and legislative leaders, and then it goes to budget subcommittee chairs, and then finally reaches lawmakers. And for most lawmakers, that didn't happen until yesterday. So, they've probably been briefed by folks in the know on their side of the aisle. But I doubt many folks have read the entire budget before the vote this morning anyways in the Senate.
Yeah, I found it frustrating that when I file Freedom of Information Act requests, I'm being told, well, we don't really have to answer those right now because of COVID. Those are on hold or being delayed or pushed back. Are you finding that in addition to the Freedom of Information Act, that the government isn't being as forthcoming with information that they would have been before since COVID hit?
Yeah, I will say on the FOIA thing, I believe the governor's executive order that allowed for slower processing of FOIAs, I believe that one's expired. So hopefully state agencies and now local governments too are again speeding up that process. But yeah, there's been a number of sort of transparency disputes in Lansing in recent months. A lot of it over COVID-19, how much data is made public, how often it's publicly reported. The governor's office, for instance, the administration was slow to release information on nursing homes. When they finally did, they didn't disclose COVID-19 cases and death counts for other long-term senior care facilities, so nursing homes only. And more recently, there's been a real push to try and get the administration to be more forthcoming about school outbreaks. They're currently reporting that data once a week, but once they report it, it's out of date already. So it doesn't do too much good for a virus that moves fairly quickly. That said, as far as the norms, all that stuff is unusual because of the COVID-19 pandemic, no doubt. As far as the norms, I think what we're seeing is a repeat about, folks talking a big game about transparency, but then when getting into office, not necessarily following through. So Governor Whitmer, for instance, she proposed as a candidate to extend the FOIA to her office in the legislature. And in fact, she even went further. She said if the legislature doesn't extend FOIA, she would, by executive order, make her own office subject to public records requests. Well, we're almost 2 years into her term, and she certainly hasn't done that. There is legislation to expand FOIA and public records requests, but it's sort of tied up in the Senate right now. So there's no guarantee it's going to reach her desk. So we see every year politicians on both sides of the aisle saying they're going to change this and make it so Michigan is no longer one of only 2 states that exempts the legislature and the governor's office from public records requests. But, a lot of years, a lot of proposals, and still nothing actually done.
Yeah, a lot of people might say, well, hey, this is we're in a pandemic. This is an emergency, a national crisis, a crisis here in Michigan. Obviously, we're going to have to push some stuff aside so that we can deal with the crisis. But at this point, this many months into COVID, what are people saying about the lack of transparency? Is COVID become an excuse yet, or is it legitimate explanation?
Well, I think, it's evolving. Of course, I think early on, folks even like the Michigan Press Association, which advocates for transparency, they were sort of okay with the governor's FOIA order early on that delayed that because they understood, that there might not be humans in local government offices to actually look through physical records or open mail requests and things of that nature. But a lot of that has started to change as the economy reopens. And I think there's a growing sense that people are looking for, data reporting and transparency to at least return to a sense of normalcy, a normal state. I talked, for my story, I talked with Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle. He's a, moderate Democrat, of course, but he's really lately joined Republicans in questioning what data the governor is using to justify the continued closure of some business types like movie theaters and so on. Now, I will note that an official from the state health department today did testify on that very issue before a legislative committee. I wasn't there. I was covering the budget, so I don't know exactly what was said, but it's my understanding that they did lay out in a little more detail some of the data they're using to make those decisions, but it's been an open question for several weeks.
Yeah, well, it seems about a year ago, the Republicans were screaming at the Democrats and the Democrats were screaming at the Republicans about the budget and what money was going to be used for roads. And we heard about the budget every single day. And now apparently a $60 billion budget is going to slip through without much more than a whisper. You got to be real careful when things are real quiet up in Lansing. Jonathan Oosting, Bridge, Michigan, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show today.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right. We'll talk to you real soon. We are going to take your calls after the break. 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. But right now, let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
Thank you very much, Kevin. WJR Traffic First, sponsored by the law firm of Victoria Divorce and Family Law for women only. Family members and friends, pass this information on to your loved ones. Asset protection, best interest of the children. The conversation starts with the law firm of Victoria. Call 248-723-1600, victorialawfirm.com. In the city right now on 75 northbound at Springwell Street, an accident has the left lane blocked. Your stop and go from Dearborn Street. Also in the city, your stop and go on 94 westbound between Michigan Avenue and Schaefer Highway. And in Wayne County, an accident on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue that has the left lane closed until further notice. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
Well, beautiful midweek weather continues here in Michigan. High pressure off to the southeast of us, giving us south winds today. And we do make the 80s this afternoon, 81 today. Low tonight, 57. Tomorrow, sunshine, 80 degrees. And upper.
Kevin, is that what you wore for your photos?
No, I should have. It was very
Nice
cheery.
and bright.
I should have just blasted them. It's WJR orange.
See, I knew you were an autumn color, Kevin. I went with the spring. This is an Easter blue.
Very nice. Very nice.
Is it?
No.
Is there a real thing as Easter blue?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I just made that up. It must be one because Laura's correcting me
It
on
would
it.
be like almost, it'd be a lighter blue than that.
I thought Easter was yellow and pink and green or something.
Pastels, isn't it?
It's periwinkle, so sue me.
I would say if you had to go with like a blue, I'd almost go like a robin eggs blue for Easter blue.
Yeah. So what would you call this blue? Just blue?
Well, the camera doesn't
Navy.
do it justice. It's a little more gray, so I'm going to look at you like a royal blue with a hint of gray in it.
Yeah. Well, they say the camera adds 12 shades, so. Oh, Michael Dice is calling Kevin's ensemble cider mill orange.
Cider mill orange.
I like
Very
what
nice.
Patrick said. He said we should wear pajamas. That wasn't part of the dress code, though.
It did say casual, so
It did say no denim, and I guess pajamas would be no denim.
I was listening to Paul W. talking with Chris Renwick this morning in the crosstalk, and they said that they were wearing like pajamas on Monday and T-shirts on Tuesday, and
it's like Spirit Week.
talking about their favorite wine on Wednesday. I don't know what was coming Thursday or Friday, but I guess
Oh,
I'll
we
have
should
to
have
get up
done
early
that.
and find out.
We should have had a competition among all the shows this week. That would have been fun.
I've been thinking of wearing a Halloween costume just all of October.
I did
Oh,
that
that's
on
good. I
Halloween
like
last
that.
year.
I wasn't here on Halloween last year.
I wore a chicken onesie.
You should have worn that to your. For those that don't know, it was school picture day today at WJR. We got our pictures taken for. I'm guessing the website eventually.
For something.
Yeah.
I really have no idea what the photos
For
are.
cardboard
I
cutouts
just
at
show up.
events that you're supposed to be at but can't go because of COVID.
What was that?
I said for cardboard cutouts to put at events that people aren't going to because of COVID.
Why is my cardboard cutout selling nutritional supplements in a pyramid scheme? Yeah, I should have. Next time I'll wear sweatpants and an old ratty shirt.
Exactly. I wonder if there will be an executive order banning Halloween. It wouldn't surprise me.
I've been seeing online, it's like PVC pipe that's on like a rail that is kind of like a chute that the kids hold their candy under. I might try that this year.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said yesterday, I live kind of at the last street at the end of the neighborhood. So we're kind of picked over anyway, but
Yeah, when we were kids, we had the neighborhood that everyone wanted to be at, and people would drop their kids off at our neighborhoods because it was good. Then
the king size candy bars.
Yeah, then when my kids were growing up, we had to drive to other neighborhoods to get more action. And then everyone just started doing it at their school.
Yeah, my parents' neighborhood probably last 15 years just like people don't trick or treat now anyway. It's kind of a bummer. It used to be my favorite night because you had free run of your neighborhood. All right, back in 10 here.
The stories that have been breaking while you've been at work. 760 WJR, where Detroit comes to talk. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
The state of Michigan is one of only 2 states that exempt lawmakers and the governor from its public records law known as the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. It's a distinction that has helped Michigan earn a failing grade for ethics and transparency from national governmental watchdog agencies. What do you think? The phone lines are open, 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. Let's go to the phone lines and check in with Andy in Clarkston. Andy, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Thank you. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm worried. Kevin. The country is, we're so divided. The Republicans hate the Democrats hate the Republicans. I know this isn't about the topic you're talking about right now, but I mean, what are our children learning from all this hate and lying on either side?
I tell you, it's hard to turn on the news and watch it. It's hard to look at your social media feed everywhere you go, and maybe now more so than ever because the election is right here and we're also getting political commercials. But it just seems like nobody is working across the aisle. It seems like almost nothing is bipartisan anymore. If you're a Republican, the Democrats think you're wrong. If you're a Democrat, the Republicans think you're wrong. When you study this stuff in the history books, you used to read about how one side would sit down with the other and they would have these discussions and fight for what's best for the country overall, and they would come to some sort of compromise. You don't hear a lot about compromise anymore, do you, Andy?
No, they can't meet in the middle on anything. They can't meet in the middle on any issues. It's either right or left. There's no in between anymore.
Do you have kids? If so, what do you tell them?
Yeah, I have 3 boys. Most of them are adults now, but you know what I mean. And they're just, like you said, they're so bombarded with all the political ads and, all the stuff on Facebook and social media, It even makes my head spin, all the stuff and the misinformation, and I call it flash media, where they're just putting out headlines, even though there's, maybe a little fact in there, but they overblow the story and just turning everybody against each other, just to sell some headlines, I guess.
Yeah, my kids are old enough to talk politics now as well, and we'll bring it up and we'll start discussing something, and then we'll sort of do a little devil's advocate to take the other side of whatever the person's argument is, and just try and talk through it. And another thing we do is when we find reporters or agencies that do a good job of putting information out in the middle or just fact-based and let you decide, we share that with each other and try and get access to news outlets that will actually just present the facts without trying to tell you the way you're supposed to interpret them. So it is divisive. It's going to be a long 40 days here till the election, and then I hope it starts to get better, but it doesn't seem like it's going to. Andy, thanks for calling from Clarkston. We appreciate you being on the Guy Gordon Show. Let's check in with Pat in Northville. Pat, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I just had this whole COVID pandemic that the governor has instituted, throughout Michigan, and her one-size-fits-all thought process is just very disturbing to me.
You mean the executive orders?
The executive orders, and as far as not getting legislation involved with basically trying to figure out what's best for the citizens of the state of Michigan instead of what her total thoughts are. And
I don't know.
The budget process is one aspect of it. How can a legislation body make determination of what a budget is when they don't have any time to look it over?
Look, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned about this budget story. I really want to dig into this some more because, first of all, apparently the leadership of the Republican Party and the Democratic governor completely agree on the $60 billion budget without a big debate from the people. I mean, what is it? Are we going to spend a bunch of money on roads? Are we going to spend a bunch of money on education? Are we going to take money away from education? Take money away from we don't even know, and yet they're voting to pass a $60 billion budget. It scares me a little to think that there hasn't been a lot of public debate on this. It scares me on both sides that we haven't heard from the Republicans or the Democrats on this. I hope they come out of this vote and explain what they liked about it or what they didn't like about it, and explain why they voted the way they did.
Right. During her election campaign, she said, her big thing was, she agrees, with working across the aisle and getting input from both sides and working together. And it just seems like, ever since this, well, even after she got elected, she said, there's not going to be any, there won't be a 20 cent gas tax increase. There'll be a 45, after she gets elected, it's going to be 45 cents. And then, she said, well, I work across the aisle with these people and we'll come to common, thought process. And then she just turns around and just starts acting like a dictator and hiding facts, the Freedom of Information Act. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And
when it
comes people in Michigan.
Well, when it comes
people
to
in Michigan have been sold a bill of goods that's not accurate, and it's not how America was founded.
It's not good, Pat, that Michigan is not transparent when it's one of only 2 states that doesn't allow you to send a Freedom of Information request to the governor's office. I mean, that's not right. They need to change that. Now, it's not just Governor Whitmer who did this. Governor Snyder and Governor Granholm before that, go back to Engler, whatever. No governor has pushed to turn over their records. But in other states, Florida has fantastic sunshine law and transparency laws that allow you to know what's going on. You file a request and the information is given to you. In fact, in Florida, most everything is put online so that you can go through it and look at it. Right now, that's not the case in Michigan. And I agree with you on these executive orders. I think legislators need to have more say in what's going on. It shouldn't be coming from one voice. Too many people depend on what's coming out of Lansing these days. All right, Pat, we appreciate your call. We are going to be back after the break with Alyssa Slotkin, Congresswoman from the 8th District. So come back for that. But right now, we're going to check weather and traffic with Michael Stetz.
WJR Traffic First, sponsored by North Bloomfield Properties. If you're looking for a place to call home, let North Bloomfield Properties find the best place for you and your family. They also provide pre-screened quality tenants to their property owners. They love to match good people to good homes. Contact them today, northbloomfield.com. In Wayne County, the on-ramp blocked right now due to an accident on 94 westbound at 96. And downtown in the city, an accident on 75 northbound at Springwell Street that has the left lane blocked. Now WJR Weather First from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Guernsey Farms Dairy. Guernsey's newly remodeled restaurant is now open for carryout, and their dining room is open for dinner only Friday through Sunday, 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Enjoy great food, drinks, and laughs, then visit their ice cream parlor and store for Guernsey's award-winning ice cream, milk, and lemonade. For more information, visit GuernseyFarmsDairy.com. Partly cloudy this evening with more clouds overnight, a low of 57 tonight. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 1 minute.
All right. Bill, we actually did have Mike Shirkey on yesterday.
We did. He was good.
He should be up on our podcast page. Or you can just rewatch yesterday's broadcast on our Facebook or YouTube page.
Well, what Mike Shirkey didn't mention was that the budget was going to get thrown at us in 24 hours. He did. He was good talking about the issue we had him on for, but
Yeah, we should just have him on our speed dial, which we do. He does come on with us a lot. He's very accessible to the show.
yeah, which is great.
Like
But and who knows? Maybe this budget is just perfect, and that's why nobody needed to see it. maybe we're all going to pay less taxes and get bigger refunds.
Everyone's happy. We're going to get a tax cut, and all the roads will be fully fixed and funded.
I think that's why they didn't need to talk to any of us about the budget.
It turns out killing COVID actually saves us money. Oh, I got you. I'm sorry, Bill. I misunderstood. He didn't mention the budget. So get Shirky on again.
Yes. He did not mention the budget, and he must have known it was coming.
Yeah.
He could have said, hey, by the way, we got a $60 billion budget we're going to slide through tomorrow. Anyone interested in anything on that? We're going to spend $60 billion of your dollars.
Yeah. Do what you want. I made my donation. Build a roller coaster with it. I don't care. Thank you, Michael. All right, so Alyssa Slotkin's coming up.
Ooh,
So my fourth grade teacher asked me if we had any chance of going up on our Mackinac trip in 2021. Any crystal ball answers?
2021, what month?
June.
June.
Ooh, March, April, May, June. Yeah, I think so. I'll vote. Yeah, I'll give you a thumbs up. I think March is going to be I think the 1 year mark is going to be when things are going to start to open up fully again.
Well, Mackinac itself is open. It would just be what the school's protocol is for traveling like that, right?
Yeah, and if they, how much you can get around and what the rules are. If it's 10 people into a room, can you only take 10 people on your trip?
Yeah.
It can be open, but not worth it.
I mean, yeah, Dave, if you wanted to do your own trip to Mackinac, I would say yes. When it comes to a school trip, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, thinking of Mackinac, they rescheduled the policy conference from May until August, thinking that by August everything would be back to normal or safe to have a policy conference that large. So I don't know. I hope. I would say 55% yes, but that still leaves a lot of doubt in my mind.
Well, the ferries are running with pretty high capacity, I believe. I don't know.
They are. They've been packing them in.
And they're also they're in phase 5 right now. So again, I think that just would go to whatever the school district is.
But are the people who are on the boat in phase 5, or did they all come from phase
that's
3?
the whole argument with everyone around the state and traveling.
I would imagine schools are going to be very cautious. Like it might be safe for some groups to go up by June of 2021, but I see schools being extra cautious and being sort of the last to give the okay for big group events like that. Patrick thinks we must be building a wall on the border for $60 billion with that $60 billion. Yeah, we're still mad about losing Toledo to Ohio in its payback time. All right, Slotkin is up next. It's really funny watching the political ads, and I'm sure this isn't anything new, but I'm just noticing it now. There'll be like an anti-John James ad, and then next it's John James, or an anti-Haley Stevens ad, and then next Haley Stevens. And it's like are they getting a chance to like rebut the negative ad before? Because sometimes they've got similar talk points, just
right.
One's in the negative and one's in the positive. 10 seconds.
This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
A friend of my college-age daughter found out they have COVID this week. Scary for her parents and me as well, as my kid will go get tested again for COVID. The U.S. has now passed 200,000 deaths, reported over 7 million cases, with 4.3 million recovering. Several experts say a second wave is coming, and the way to keep recoveries up and deaths down is to be prepared. Have a good stockpile of personal protection equipment, ventilators, and other supplies to fight the pandemic. In the first wave, Michigan experienced shortages of PPE and received some supplies that were expired. United States Representative Alyssa Slotkin, her plan to overhaul national stockpile by producing critical supplies in America, well, it has passed the House with unanimous bipartisan support. And joining us now is U.S. Rep. Alyssa Slotkin. Thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is exciting and important. If you can get this plan enacted, what could it mean for frontline workers? What could it mean for those who catch COVID if there is a second wave?
Yeah, this is what we've been working on basically since April. And what it would mean is that we have much more of a handle on what is in the strategic national stockpile, what amounts, whether it's expired or not. Remember, Michigan got a lot of expired goods, some of them even moldy. It would allow states to set up their own stockpiles, which I think would be great. And then I think just more important than almost all of that is that it would have a pilot program, a $500 million pilot program to start working between the federal government and our local businesses to actually expand production of medical supplies and pharmaceuticals here in the United States, in Michigan. So we're thrilled that it passed, and I'm now spending all my time on the phone, basically agitating with all the senators on both sides of the aisle to try to get them to take this up so that we can move this swiftly and, hopefully have our stockpile sort of refreshed and ready to go if we have a second wave, if we have another pandemic. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, when this crisis first hit, it seemed we weren't too sure what we had available, but we were pretty sure we were going to have to rely on other countries to help us out in various areas. And the problem with that is that other countries were having their own problems. They were looking out for their own citizens. What were some of the key areas where we needed to make improvements?
Well, listen, I mean, we have some American companies that make medical supplies, that make pharmaceuticals, including in Michigan. But as you can imagine, it's just cheaper. The labor is just cheaper in other countries, especially China. And Michiganders have been saying for literally 30 years that if you outsource some of these key supply lines, it's a threat to national security. And the chickens came home to roost right in the middle of COVID when I found myself on the phone negotiating with some Chinese middleman who's in line at a factory in rural China just so we can get a 78-cent mask here in the United States. So for me, that showed the real vulnerability for us. And, I have a national security background. It's not like we make our military supplies in other countries, right? We get our body armor, our meals ready to eat, our military equipment has to be made in America, or at least the majority of it. So I took those same requirements, those Buy American requirements, and tried to apply them to medical supplies and pharmaceuticals as a start on bringing some of these supply lines back home.
And so how long does it take once you sort of have approval and money to start doing this? You can't just wave a wand and say, okay, now we manufacture medical supplies and pharmaceuticals here in Michigan or here in the United States. How long will it take to develop this once we have the okay?
Once we have the okay and the taps open on the money, which is important, then the federal government can go to, for instance, a generic drug maker in Michigan and say, great, you make this generic drug, your company makes a lot of it overseas as well. Well, we want to co-invest with you on expanding your supply chains on these drugs so that the federal government has them in supply, right? So we literally co-invest, federal government, public and private, co-invest together on a basically extra manufacturing line for surge capacity when we really need it. It's exactly what we do in the Department of Defense on things like body armor. We just want to know that we can surge when we need to. And it takes a public-private partnership. So you need the money, and then you need to jump into action to start having the federal government make those partnerships. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight, but we got to start somewhere. We've been outsourcing for 30 years. In order to reverse that trend, especially on medical supplies, You got to start somewhere. And I would love to be able to start seeing that before, the end of January at this point.
So this was a bipartisan effort, and it was unanimous support. What kind of pushback, if any, are you expecting or anticipating in the Senate?
Well, I'm not expecting pushback. I'm just expecting lethargy, right? They're not doing much right now over in the Senate. They're not hearing almost any bills. They're focused on confirmations, but also obviously now the new conversation on the Supreme Court. So I'm not thinking that we're going to have huge competition or huge pushback. I'm worried that just their calendar isn't accommodating a lot of legislating. And what I'm hoping is that if I can't get it done before the election, then maybe right after, but certainly before the end of the calendar year is what we're aiming at right now.
And a second wave isn't going to wait for the calendar to open up, is it?
It is not. It is not. And that's why I've been on the phone just, really urging any senator that I can get a hold of to say, this bill is ready to go. It could help us tomorrow if it passed through the Senate. Won't you champion it? Won't you pick it up? Won't you push it through? So that's my work now. And sort of, we've come a long way since May when we introduced this, but we need to get it that final mile.
And real quickly, how important was it that the House passed a funding bill to avoid a government shutdown? The possibility existed there could have been a shutdown during the elections and while this pandemic is going?
Yeah, I think it was very important. We finally got to a deal about 7:30 last night. We voted at about 8 o'clock, and I think it's a good deal for everybody. No one wants to see the government shut down anytime, frankly. We're the only government in the world that, when they can't agree on a budget, we shut ourselves down. But of course, in the middle of the pandemic, I just wouldn't have been able to face the residents of the 8th District if I had to come back and tell them sorry because of, political arguments. We're shutting down the federal government, places like the CDC and the FDA and the Pentagon, all in the middle of a global pandemic. None of us wanted that. And luckily, cooler heads prevailed.
All right. That keeps us running until December 11th. The United States Representative Alyssa Slotkin, good luck on your plan in the Senate. And thanks for taking some time to be on the Guy Gordon Show today.
Thanks so much.
When we come back, the phone lines are open. WJR, where Detroit comes to talk. The number 1-800-859-0957. Give us a call at 1-800-859-0WJR. Right now, let's check in with Michael Stetz in traffic.
Downtown in the city, an accident on 75 northbound at Springwell Street that has the left lane blocked. Your stop and go from Dearborn Street. In Wayne County on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue, that left lane is closed right now due to an accident until further notice. And also in Wayne County, you're moving slowly on 75 northbound right now between 8 Mile and 11 Mile. Now WJR weather first. From the Weather Channel, sponsored by Super Car Wash. Super Car Wash is all about making your car shine. For just $12.95 a month, you can have unlimited access to all 11 Super Car Wash locations throughout Metro Detroit. Their free vacuums and free hand towel drying make Super Car Wash the best in the business. Look super. Go unlimited today.
Well, some fantastic weather unfolding for the city here midweek. We're up to 81 degrees this afternoon. South winds warming us up from the top of the work week. Had some chilly numbers to get fall underway, but now pleasant upper 70s, low 80s through the late week and into the weekend. Could see a couple of sprinkles this weekend, but mainly dry for us. 57 tonight, 79 tomorrow. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
I really have not figured out a graceful way of getting us into a tape. You look like you were like a ventriloquist or something.
Yeah, I didn't. Before, I think you just took me out early and just put up a picture of something, but
yeah,
that's okay. They don't mind.
That's okay. That's okay. Like I said, we're upfront about that on the video stream.
Exactly. We only trick them on the radio.
Right. Right. It's the magic of radio, not the magic of online video.
We're very transparent here on Facebook.
We've got no choice. Dave, says, going back to the Mackinac trip, we've taken them 22 years from southern Hillsdale County, stuck in phase 4, hoping we can do it. Me too, Dave. I hope I'm wrong.
What are all the phases? Are there 6 of them?
Good question.
I remember after 9/11, we had like orange, red, yellow, green.
Oh yeah, the Homeland Security Index.
They still follow that, don't they?
I think they do. Yeah.
A little tip for my shoot.
Yeah, Patrick. I suppose Breonna Taylor may come up today. Still, that may be subject for tomorrow. Hopefully, it won't be violent. There won't be any violence.
Yeah, I mean, people are protesting because I guess the charges were more about the damage done to the building with the bullets than her death, and that seems to be what everyone's protesting about. But yeah, I'm watching cable news right now, and it's looking peaceful, but it doesn't seem like it gets chaotic till after dark. So
yeah, let's hope it's peaceful protests.
So I'm not sure what Jerry Franks says. Why won't Stabenow or Peters pick up her bill? Talking about Slotkin's bill that was passed? I'm not quite sure. Jerry, go ahead and clarify that.
Hey, Laura.
Yes.
Skip Mongo is not. He said he had to take someone to the hospital, so
no.
I don't think he's calling in.
Okay.
So we'll do something else.
We've got the cuts, so we can do that, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about by 4:00. Oh, that
from okay. Yeah.
The Guy Gordon Show, 760. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
President Trump and candidate Joe Biden are tied in the polls in Iowa and Georgia. In Iowa, women favor Biden, men favor Trump. The margin 57-36, both ways, pretty much. Do you believe the polls? How close is the race in Michigan? Will the Supreme Court decision make any difference one way or the other here in Michigan or across the country? Lot to talk about. The number is 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. Let's go to the phone lines and check in with Mark in Jackson. Mark, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, how you doing, Guy? Hey, real quick, Ms. Slotkin, I love how she does that. It took her 4 months to pass that through the democratically controlled House, and now she's upset because the Senate hasn't taken it up and passed it tomorrow. Come on, you got to give these guys some time, or at least get it done in your house first before you start throwing stones.
At least give them a chance.
Everybody's known we've had a second wave coming. Everybody keeps talking about it this fall, and she's worried to wait until January. I don't understand. Her logic just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I definitely like the idea of being prepared. I like the idea of stockpiling what we need if you can determine what we actually need so we don't have to go to other countries to try and get supplies if there's another pandemic or the second wave hits. As far as, expecting the Senate to take it up in 2 minutes, I'm sure they would like to look at it and see what the fine print says about it all before just passing it right through. It's an interesting topic. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more PPE equipment manufactured here. I'd like to see more pharmaceuticals manufactured here. But when you go to buy those prescriptions, you don't want to certainly pay any more money. So I don't know. She said it got through unanimous and a bipartisan vote there, but it did take a long time, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And how many ventilators did Ford make? I mean, they made thousands of ventilators, and they're just sitting on the shelves right now.
And maybe that's what the Senate wants to look at. How, what do we really need to stockpile here? Let's not stockpile stuff if we're not going to need it. Let's figure out exactly what we need and what we don't need. I don't think they're necessarily distracted by the Supreme Court decision, which obviously is a big deal. If they thought they needed to act immediately before the second wave, I'm sure they could and would take it up, and they may still. We don't know. I mean, this just passed yesterday. I mean, it hasn't been 48 hours yet. So,
Nope.
All right. Thanks for checking in, Mark. Let's check in with Tim in Brownstown. Tim, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
The guest, she spoke like it seemed like she was saying that the governor or governors in our country can't have a stockpile of masks, ventilators, hand wash, whatever, without going through the federal government. I don't think that's true. I mean, if I were governor, I would want to prepare myself. But she talked about the medicine being manufactured in other countries. I mean, when does a politician ever take accountability here? They 66,000 manufacturing companies closed up and moved overseas because of our politicians. It's just mind-boggling to me that they never are held responsible. There's a perfect example, and this was a story a couple of years ago. $17 million of taxpayer money was used to hide sexual assaults and sexual harassment inside the Capitol building. And try to FOIA request that. And I remember Debbie Dingle coming out. Yeah, we're gonna find out who did it. I'm telling you, these people are so corrupt. And the Republicans, we said we're done with them. We're elected Donald Trump. We've made our big change in 2016 because we're fed up with the Republican Party. Here's how I see the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats are the people up there on the ivory tower that throw the rope down and they tell you to grab that rope. And what they do is they don't climb, we're going to pull you up. And they'll pull you up about 3 stories. So you're up there 30 feet, but that's as far as you'll ever get. You'll never get to the top of the ivory tower. Now, the Republicans, how I see it, is they have a big ladder. And they say, you set your destiny. You create your life. You climb that ladder as high as you want to climb. We're about equal opportunity. They're about equal outcome. And equal outcome fails every time it's tried. But I'll tell you, our politicians, and there's some good ones. I'm not hammering on all of them. There are a lot of good politicians out there. But I'll tell you, they are letting us down. I tell my son, don't ever count on politicians or our government to get us out of a pickle. You got to depend on yourself. If the nuclear war hits, nobody's going to be around to help you. If the pandemic hits, look at what happened. Stockpiles are gone. Nobody's prepared. You can go back 40 years, and I think we've had a virus or some type of H1N1 swine flu for the past 40 years. Every 2 or 3 years we have one of these. And you're telling me our cupboards are bare? That's what politicians do. And it's all about the money. Like you just said, we don't need to have a whole bunch of stockpile, just enough to get us through something.
Tim,
it's anything.
It's hard to believe they were surprised when they had everything made overseas, and then we're surprised suddenly when we didn't have anything, especially, like you said, when some sort of illness or disease has come every couple of years or so. Thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show. Let's check in with George in Battle Creek. George, thanks for calling.
Yeah, I guess I get a little upset. Every time a politician moves their mouth, I believe they're lying. The issue that this Plotkin just talked about, what happened to all the ventilators we had after the first wave? Where are they? Are they not available now?
Well, I think I think what she's saying is that you want to make sure there are enough ventilators. It appears that there are, but when the pandemic first hit, when we were at the height of it, there was a lot of concerns that we were going to run out of a lot of stuff. And the idea is that you make sure that you have enough of everything that you need and don't rely on having to beg another country for something we need. Now, maybe we won't need ventilators anymore because we have enough, or we made enough, or we didn't need as many as we thought we would. But whether it's pharmaceuticals or personal protection equipment, you want to make sure that you have enough stuff, but let's make sure we understand what we need. So we're going to take a quick break and then come back with more of your calls. Right now, let's check in with traffic and weather and Michael Stetz.
Downtown in the city, you're moving slowly on 94 eastbound between Livernois Avenue and 96. In Wayne County, on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue, an accident has that left lane closed right now until further notice. And also in Wayne County, the on-ramp blocked right now on 94 westbound at 96. That's the eastbound and westbound ramps to 94 westbound are blocked. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Attention new car buyers, Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is offering huge savings on their inventory of new Ram pickups. During the Ram Power Days event, Parkway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Hall Road in Clinton Township. Show up, sign up, and ride. Partly cloudy this evening with clouds overnight tonight, a low of 57. Mostly sunny for Thursday with a high tomorrow of 79. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 3 minutes.
All right, so the last break, I asked Jerry to expound on asking why Stabenow Peters won't pick up Slotkin's Made in America bill. So what happened, I think, Jerry, so the House passed it, but the Senate hasn't voted on it, right? Okay,
Correct.
so Jerry, I think that was a case of you're listening to the show closer than me, which wouldn't be the first time.
Hey, was that, Mike, was that music yours that came on to cue me to go to the break, or was that some of the callers? Because it came out, it wasn't like the usual music. It was like louder, sort of.
Well, it's weird because the music coming over the StreamYard is a lot quieter than what's coming out over the air, and sometimes you don't hear it. So I tried.
Yeah, to move it out. That's fine. I just didn't know if it was like I didn't know if it was the caller's music, and then I threw to Mike like 3 minutes earlier or something.
Yeah,
because I didn't.
Go ahead.
I didn't see what the out time was because, or I'd forgotten because it was so far back, and I was looking at the callers or whatever. But
yeah, at the end of the hour, I always give a minute of music just because that's got to be a little tighter than the other ones, and
right,
and it gives you a little leeway. If you're out a few seconds, that music can take us up, and there won't be any dead air. So, yeah, I probably started a little bit louder because it didn't seem as loud going over the speakers. I want to make sure you heard it.
Oh, it's fine. No, it was good.
Yeah. That would be rude if a caller was calling us and just started blasting their own music.
I just go, all right, it must be time for traffic.
Bill says, I'm a Republican, but I didn't think Slotkin would get trashed. She made some good points, but I think the COVID commission is supposed to be on this. And Jerry agrees. I am with you, Bill. She made some good deal of sense to me.
Yeah, no, you got to get pharmaceuticals, and you got to make sure you have enough of that stuff in the country. You don't want to, you got to go begging someone in an emergency. They're going to say, sorry, we're looking out for our own people. We're not giving you anything.
And that kind of happened, didn't it?
Yeah, it started to. Things calmed down before it got crazy, but that's where it was headed.
Well, and the thing is, too, I don't know if these correlate, but I think a lot of our PPE was coming from China, and back when we didn't know how long the virus stayed on surfaces or how contagious it was off surfaces, the thought of getting our PPE from the place where the virus started also made a lot of people uneasy. Aside from the logistics of it coming from China and not being made here in America and available more readily.
Right. So we have We still in the queue. We still have Dave and Ken and Mike. Is that right?
No, we only have David and Mike, but I'm going to reorder that when we get a little bit closer, just in the event that they were to drop.
Okay.
Mike Pence and the group head. Is that the COVID commission? I'm guessing you're talking about, Bill. I mean, the way I see it, have throw multiple things at it. Have a COVID commission. Have legislation.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how much stuff we have stockpiled.
Right.
Like you see those movies, with bullets that are 60 years old or something. And
right. Well, I guess at the beginning of this, we didn't have much stockpiled. We didn't restock from the H1N1, was it? Or I think it was H1N1 that depleted our stockpile and just no one ever refilled it.
Yeah.
There's also that ultraviolet light that they're saying now shows that it kills viruses in a few minutes. Then they're using that to sanitize ventilators in a pinch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they're looking at putting it in ventilation systems so that when the air comes in and out, it has to pass through that light. And excuse me. So, okay, yeah. So we're going back to calls here because Skip Mongo had something.
Yeah, and then if we need to, we can roll into those cuts that you pulled earlier. I can just set it up or something if we need to.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. It was Henry Ford. That's who Henry Ford's been kind of on the forefront of experimenting with a lot of things COVID related. If that's for me, I'm not here.
He's my kid, not an avid listener, apparently.
Sorry, Dad. I forgot you were doing that thing.
Okay, yeah. Kevin, I just reordered the calls for you underneath that line there.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and for those cuts, I believe Zolik is how you pronounce his last name. The W silent.
Oh, Zolik?
Yeah. And let's see. There's some confusion on his first name.
Fred, we're going to go with.
All right, Patrick, have a good day. It was labeled different than his actually. It is Fred Zolik, yeah. But in the computer is labeled not Fred. So
yeah. Since you didn't catch me yesterday with that Clark Kent thing, you're going to keep trying?
No, I didn't say the wrong name this time. I mean, I said it in the email, but I didn't say it out loud for that exact reason. So anyway, Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne from Unlock, Michigan. Here.
This is the Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. You can text to that number or you can call us on that number. We appreciate everyone who stopped by WJR 760, where Detroit comes to talk. We're also live on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're watching us there, thanks for stopping in. Let's go to the phone lines right now and check in with David in Westland. David, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show.
Hey, how you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Good. No, I wanted to respond to your, you're asking about polls.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, everybody I talk to out of like 300 people that I actually know, they're not all friends. I get about 90% of them are like Trump supporters. And I even have some of them that were Hillary supporters before, but now they're turning to Trump. None of us have ever been contacted or polled. So I don't know where they're getting this from. I mean, I got people that are saying that they voted for, or either they didn't vote or they voted for Hillary last time, but they're definitely going to vote for Trump this time. Where are these polls coming from? I don't know.
Yeah,
you've got an answer out there.
It seems like Joe Biden has been ahead since the minute he was the candidate, and Trump has been behind the entire time. You just do the eye test. I drove, from southeast Michigan up to northern Michigan and into the UP. And, the eye test on signage, there seems to be a lot more Trump signage out than Biden signage. I don't remember that being the case with Clinton and Trump last time around, but it seems like the polls have been tightening week to week and month to month, and Biden's lead has been closing. Now, Iowa apparently is tied, and Georgia is apparently tied. We know Pennsylvania is close. We know Michigan is close. Arizona is close. But I don't know how much. I'm not sure how much I believe the polls. They say there's a margin of error of maybe 4%. Right now, a lot of states are in play within that 4%, and now you have a Supreme Court justice battle that's going on, and the Democrats are saying that by Trump naming someone and pushing someone through, that's going to hurt him in the upcoming election. I know a lot of people who've said that's going to help him by doing that, because in their opinion, he's doing his job. But I guess it's what the independents or the undecided voters think about it all, and which way they flip. Maybe when the pollsters are calling, one week they're with Biden and another week they're with Trump. But I don't know that many people personally that are on the fence. Most of the people I know are one way or the other, and they're pretty well decided.
I can tell you just a funny little story. I'll make it quick. I do a lot of trips up the 2375 corridor because I got, family up that way. And I stop at the rest areas, and I wear my T-shirt that is, I won't really say it, or my Trump hat, but I got, a T-shirt on that doesn't fit good about the governor. And I get so many accolades once I leave the metropolitan Detroit area out of Westland. And it's like unreal, the amount of people that are just, they're Trump supporters. And I just don't see where these polls are coming from. That's all. I was just throwing it out there.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling. Thanks, David. They talk a lot about the silent majority for Donald Trump, and it seems like the silent majority seems to be speaking up a little more as it pertains to T-shirts, hats, lawn signs, and even telling their friends and neighbors who they're voting for. Let's check in with Mike in Farmington Hills. Mike, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show.
Yeah, first comment is that anecdotal economists like what you get from your callers and what they are stories. They're not facts at all. Don't put the impression that they are facts. Second point, in regards to legislation in Congress and losing all these manufacturing jobs, this is how it works. Politicians receive contributions from interest groups that want certain legislation, certain policies, certain regulations, and they pass it. These people pushing this legislation, or interest groups or individuals, are corporations. They are the ones who are pushing for sourcing and shipping jobs overseas. So it's not the politicians, it's what the corporations want. I think you need to put that perspective out there as well. Have a great day.
All right. I appreciate your call, Mike. Of course, you can't do much about corporations unless you're going to buy them out or buy all their stock and change the board. Politicians, you can do something about it. You can try and hold them accountable and make them stand up to corporations who are not putting the public's interest at heart. So there is that, but we appreciate your call. The number is 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. Let's check in with Ray in Davisburg. Ray, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show.
Yeah, hi. You know, I the other day I looked up what Hillary was doing in October 2016. Clear Politics had her up 6 to 8 points in the state of Michigan. And I looked up Pennsylvania. I looked up, and it was unbelievable the falsehood on all the polls they had with Hillary Clinton. You know, I've worked a follow up. I go to manufacturing facility to manufacturing facilities, and I've been doing it for 25 years. And I talked to a lot of union guys, a lot of contractors, and you know, back in the Clinton days, they were all Democrats and they were all voting Democrats. And then Hillary, a couple of times, I had a couple. I don't know one of them that's voting for Joe Biden. They all turn into your Democratic Trump supporters. And I don't believe none of these polls. And I travel a long ways, and I travel from shop to shop, manufacturing shops to facilities. And I think it's going to be a landslide, to be honest with you.
It's interesting to watch, isn't it, Ray? Because election night in 2016, everyone seemed pretty certain that Hillary Clinton was going to win. It was just what time would they call the race? And as you watched, it became clear that that wasn't the case at all, that it was going to be really tight. And then it became somewhat obvious that actually Donald Trump was going to win this thing. And you just wonder, how could everybody be so wrong? How could the polls be so wrong? And then when I watched this particular race, you know, Biden up early, you know, people like Joe Biden. They think he's a likable guy. They think of him as the vice president. And, you know, many people think that Obama did a good job and Joe Biden did a good job and they like him. Now you hear mostly chatter and talk about if he's capable or not. And I think the independents are going to watch these debates and make a decision for themselves. And ultimately, you know, the margin, you know, the Republicans vote Republican, the Democrats vote Democrat, and those independents or undecideds that flip back and forth. Those are the ones that decide who's going to win. And you say that you're feeling that it's the Republicans that are going to pull it off this time. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we appreciate you calling into the show. Let's check in with Brandon in Orion. Brandon, welcome to the Guy Gordon Show.
Hi, how are you doing?
How are you? I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was just thinking, there's no way that they're going to allow Biden to debate because he's clearly lost his mind. And whether you want Trump or not, I just think it would be great, and it would be it would be very amusing if Trump would crash one of Biden's little events where only 10 people show up the next time, since Biden probably won't debate him honestly anyway. And I think that would look good if Trump could pull it off, right? Just sit there and heckle or just sit there and smile and support Biden as a joke.
I don't think Donald Trump would be able to get into a rally that Biden was having because he would stand out. I think Biden could probably get into a Donald Trump rally because thousands of people are showing up for those. But it would certainly be interesting to see the two of them running into each other and having a spur of the moment debate. But I do think the debate's going to happen. It's scheduled for next week, and the topics have been picked, and I think it's going to happen for sure. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and get to your call. So hang on the line. The number is 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. But right now, let's check in with Michael Stetz in traffic.
Thank you very much, Kevin. WJR Traffic First, sponsored by Reamer Floors, introducing Karastan waterproof luxury vinyl floors. Now in stock at Reamer Floors. Luxury vinyl floors by Karastan are better than nature intended. Shop from home at reamerfloors.com or shop in store by appointment at Reamer Floors in Bloomfield Hills. In the city downtown, you're moving slowly on 94 eastbound right now between Warren Avenue and 96. In Wayne County, on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue, that left lane is closed right now per MDOT until further notice. Also in Wayne County, the on-ramp blocked right now on 94 westbound at 96. That's the 96 eastbound, both eastbound and westbound ramps to 94 westbound. Now WJR weather first from the Weather Channel.
High pressure southeast of Detroit giving us south winds today, and that's warming us up. Today's the warm day of the week at 81 degrees this afternoon. 57 are low tonight, and upper 70s, low 80s for Thursday, Friday. Mainly dry through the weekend. A little more cloud cover this weekend with some upper level weather energy coming down from Canada. A couple of sprinkles possible. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie. More on News Talk 760 WJR.
All right, couple regulars checking in. Mark Gardner. Good afternoon. Have a good show. Clay.
Hey guys, Sandy. Clay's back. Clay, where were you yesterday? What in the world were you doing
I think Clay
yesterday?
gets off work at 4. That's going to be my guess.
Clay. How many miles, Clay? You got to let us know. I'm going for 4.2. Mike, care to guess?
I'll take the over.
You'll take over 4.2. Okay,
Yeah.
I got 4.2 or less.
Well, Sandy says, will they fact check Biden on the spot? Or are you talking about one of his rallies?
I can't even. I mean, how do you even trust the fact checkers anymore? Who fact checks the fact checkers? It seems like it's gotten it's crazy. They used
Not facts anymore.
I used to love the fact checkers. You know, they'd be like, "Oh, they said this," and they'd put up, "Well, that's not quite true." But now you don't even know. Depending on what channel you're watching, you don't know what facts they're using and what numbers.
Maybe C-SPAN. I don't know. To me, the more boring the programming, the more it's probably objective. Maybe C-SPAN's the only fact checkers we can trust anymore.
Watch it streamed on Bob's debate livestream.com.
Some random guy on YouTube.
It's just I'm going with that.
Okay, Sandy. Yeah, Sandy says debate. Yes. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I've been a little slow on the uptake today with the comments. So
I don't know the media. I mean, the media doesn't really do a lot of fact checking on the spot with any of the candidates. They have access to both candidates almost every day.
Well, and how? I mean, unless someone tells something that everyone knows is blatantly false, you might not be able to fact check on the spot. I would imagine, there's a lot of gray areas. Is that true? And then you go and you research it, and then by the time it's no longer, they moved on to something else. It's no longer in real time.
Yeah. Well, they'll. I'm sure the debates will have fact checkers working feverishly. If we don't get them on the spot, we'll have them by the next day.
Yeah,
for sure.
Which actually I prefer that because I know like they've taken their time.
That will be a busy call-in day. I think I'm doing Paul W. Smith's show next Wednesday, which the debate's Tuesday.
What did remember? I forgot what it was. It was an Obama Mitt Romney debate, and Donna Brazil tried to fact check Mitt Romney on the spot, and it actually turned out Mitt Romney was correct, and she misspoke.
Oh,
I forgot what it was, but I guess that's the danger of real-time fact checking.
I knew John F. Kennedy, and you are no John F. Kennedy.
I think that was an earlier debate.
I know you didn't know him.
Oh, Clay checks in with us on his lunch break. All right.
Oh, okay. All right, Clay. We appreciate that.
We appreciate the commitment.
All right. We are certainly an entertaining lunch break, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I have to.
We're back in 30 here.
That's when I added myself. Would you look?
All right, where did we leave off with? Did we do Brandon? I can't remember.
Yeah, Brandon.
We're in Detroit.
So we're in George. Okay.
Let's see. Traffic.
Yeah, we got a ton of calls in that last segment there.
Good.
Well, that's good because we didn't have a guest.
I was telling Mike that my hand is freezing cold, so it's hard to type as quickly as I needed to.
That's concerning to me.
No, I just blame the air and heat in here.
I'm going to drive you to Henry Ford after the show. Just to
No, I'm going home.
Okay. We're back.
760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
You're listening to The Guy Gordon Show. The number's 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. We're going to get right back to the phones. George from Detroit, thanks for hanging on through the commercial. Welcome to The Guy Gordon Show.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
Did you hear what happened in Florida? It's outrageous.
You're talking about Bloomberg?
Yeah. Did anybody mention that? I asked the call screener because I just tuned in.
We haven't talked about it yet, but I had cable news on before the show, and they were talking about. I believe he was going to put a bunch of money into Florida to try and make it so felons could vote in the election. Is that right? Is that how you heard it?
Yeah. I think they did it. Not just him. There was other people involved, corporations, even Ben and Jerry's and Levi Strauss, and it seems like they mentioned the name of Michael Jordan. I know Michael Jordan just, was trying to get together a NASCAR team or whatever. But Bloomberg and all of them to pay. I guess the DeSantis had just won a court case to not allow felons to vote until they paid like their restitution, like Kwame,
right.
He got put in jail, but he also has millions of dollars to pay back if and when he gets out, or, if he has a way to pay it now, I don't know. But,
so the idea was that some billionaires would pay off the fines or the restitution, and that would free up the felons to be able to vote. And the idea is that they would vote for Joe Biden, most likely. And that would help Joe Biden in the election. I tell you, we talked about this a lot this week about the courts and outside influences being able to affect the election, to be able to change the vote, to be able to win a state that's a key state. That you're going to hear a lot about this effort by Bloomberg down in Florida, but it's happening state by state. Maybe not felons being able to vote, but little decisions are being made every day in key states to try and flip a state from one side to the other. And it can happen. You can someone other than voters can determine who the president is if you get the right judge making the right decision, or you get the right billionaire finding a loophole to be able to sway votes one way or the other. It's pretty scary.
Well, it happened in Virginia in 2016 that, and I forget his name right now, but the governor, I know it's Northam now, but was friends with Hillary Clinton, and she actually gave like $700,000 to his wife's campaign, and they got the legality for felons to vote. And that's basically what the winning percentage, like 65,000, whatever it was, of the vote total in Virginia went for Clinton over President Trump.
Yeah, it's frightening, and hopefully, you hope that people are paying attention, the media's paying attention, and that it's getting called out wherever it can be discovered. Thanks for calling, George. We appreciate you being on the Guy Gordon Show. Let's check in with Bill in Detroit. Bill, thanks for calling.
Yeah, Kevin. I've been watching these Biden commercials, these election commercials. Boy, you can tell he's got a lot more money than Trump. It's like 3-1 for every Biden. Every 3 commercials of Biden, you see one for Trump. You can tell he's Trump's being out financed. But what's even scarier, I think the public really didn't realize that the Democratic Party has perfected cheating. Do you remember back in 2016, this Fovel guy was caught with Project Veritas, and how he was so excited about his cheating and how the Democratic Party only wins by cheating. I mean, people got to understand this is the reality of what you voted for. Cheaters, criminals, liars, thieves. And you can say it's on both sides, but I got to tell you, I think it's 80% Democratic and 20% Republican, the cheating and criminal factor. So, yeah, let's not level this field here. It's not a level playing field. They've perfected cheating. And your callers don't realize this is how you're going to lose the election. Trump's going to lose through cheating. And they've perfected it furiously. Remember the video I'm talking about on the Fovel video? Where he said, we're going to win this, mother effer. We're going to win this at all costs. I mean,
remember
that's
the
their
video.
motive. That's their MO. That's their MO. It hasn't changed. They are viciously cheating,
Well,
and we're just sitting back shrugging our shoulders saying, oh, that's the Democratic Party. No way. No way.
Well, Democrats would say that Republicans are cheating by limiting access to voting, by not letting everybody vote, by putting in obstacles to vote by people who would otherwise vote Democratic. I'm all about everybody having a right to vote, everybody who wants to vote being able to vote. But let's count the votes accurately. Let's not get into the courts and or behind the scenes find loopholes or ways to cheat to get the numbers moved. Let's just get people who want to vote, and let's count them accurately and see where it falls. Bill, thanks for calling. We appreciate it. Let's check in with Cindy. Cindy, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show.
Yeah. Hi, Kevin. Thanks. One thing I wanted to say about Slotkin, she is a show horse. If you remember when we went through impeachment of President Trump, Slotkin took a beating because she voted to impeach him. Same with Stevens. And I have not forgotten that. And I think people have to remember that. And if she is now trying to repair her image, or the Democratic Party is pushing her to repair her image to retain her seat in Congress, that's something important. And people have to remember that Congress and Senate have so much more power. And that if we truly want to stop this two-party bickering, and I'm not in favor of voting one party, but this has really made me tired. I have been a third partyist for a very long time. Trump was the most we were ever going to get a third party in there. And that is why the Republicans turned his back on him and everything. And that is why Washington is scared. They are afraid of that man.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, Cindy. Let me ask you something, Cindy. Do you think the Democratic Party gave Slotkin a softball issue that most people would agree with because they want to make sure she keeps her seat? Is that what you're suggesting?
Oh, sure. Oh, yes. I highly believe that. If you can, you remember when she was voting to impeach, her phones were ringing off the hook. They were worried about her total image. If you go back then, and people, I hope, have not forgotten that. And that's the same for our senators, Peters and Stabenow. Okay, I'm a full believer in term limits, and that's one thing I hope Trump puts in there is term limits, because this is what's gotten us in this problem, and Washington doesn't give a darn about us.
All right,
They
Cindy,
don't.
thanks for calling. We want to get to all the callers today. Let's check in with Bob in Lake Orion. Bob, thanks for calling the Guy Gordon Show. You there, Bob?
Here.
We may have lost Bob. Okay. We'll go to the break and we'll get back to the calls a little later in the show. Right now, let's check traffic and weather with Michael Stetz.
In Oakland County, you're moving slowly right now on 696 eastbound between Woodward and Cousins Ave. In Wayne County, left lane closed per MDOT until further notice right now on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue. And in St. Clair Shores, you're moving slowly on 94 eastbound between 696 and 12 Mile. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Shelving.com. Shelving.com has a wide selection of Metro brand shelving and storage products now offered at new lower prices. From their popular chrome wire shelving to antimicrobial Metro Max units, Shelving.com is the best spot to shop for your Metro product needs. That's Shelving.com. We rack your world. Partly cloudy this evening with more clouds overnight tonight, a low of 57. Mostly sunny for Thursday with a high tomorrow of 79. Right now it's 79 degrees. I'm Michael Stetz, WJR News in 2 minutes.
So I have seen that story about Bloomberg paying off.
I saw it right before we came on.
Yeah.
Now, they're trying to make them eligible to vote.
Yeah. Now, the name Michael Jordan actually does surprise me because he did write an op-ed, I think, right after Ferguson.
Isn't there a Michael Jordan in politics too, though, that is not the Michael Jordan in basketball?
That's a good question. Michael Jordan. I'm gonna put politics.
Hundreds of millions by Bloomberg, Jordan, LeBron James, and some companies supposed to be over. How many felons? 13,000 felons?
13,000, yeah.
I heard Mark Levin last night.
Michael Jordan surprises me because for his career, he's gone out of his way to be very apolitical.
Bill says they should charge him with bribery because you can't buy someone's vote. Well, they're probably not telling them who to vote for. They probably just assume that
they're going to vote Democrat.
They'll vote Democrat.
Yeah.
But that's good information, Bill. I just saw a bit of it when I came on. I actually didn't know it was about paying their fines. I thought they were trying to somehow change legislation, but that's not the case.
If they told him who to vote for, wouldn't that be bribery, and isn't that illegal?
Well, that's what Bill was saying, but I don't think they would tell them who to vote for. They would just tell them that their fines have been forgiven.
Right, and assume they're
by your friendly billionaire Bloomberg.
But yeah,
it's a bad look. It's a bad look, though, isn't it? I mean, Americans hate cheaters. It just seems like that whole effort would make more people who might have stayed home come out and vote.
Honestly, I think we're past the point of politics
looking bad,
caring to look bad. It's about winning. I mean, it's always been about winning, but optics used to be somewhat important. I think those are just out the window.
Wow.
But Michael Jordan surprises me because he's notorious for saying, Republicans buy shoes too, and he really has.
Well, he took a lot of heat for not stepping up, and I think he's in the last couple of months has been a little more vocal.
Yeah. Him and LeBron James are very different superstars from very different eras. Yeah, that's exactly right. He has taken a lot of heat because he's.
But then athletes not talking about these in particular, but just in general, celebrities and athletes, and jumping in. I don't know that they necessarily deserve any extra consideration. Should you be persuaded by somebody because they're an athlete or a celebrity?
Yeah, I think they just know they have a big platform, and they use that platform to voice their opinions. I mean, LeBron James, he does a lot of good things for Akron and education in his community. You may not agree with his politics.
Who are you talking about?
LeBron James.
He has all those schools, right? He educates a lot of people. That's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and he'll take kids in the Akron school system and see them from kindergarten up through college. So, I got respect for some of LeBron James. I don't want to say social work, but work in the community.
Charitable efforts.
There you go.
Philanthropy.
Bill says the whole woke culture.
Off topic, but Mick is there for you, so you know.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh yeah, I wonder how that rally went up in Lansing. Now
I watched it on Facebook.
Yeah,
it was small.
So they're protesting having to wear masks
during play and practice. Yeah. I want to just see what Mick thinks. Mick's been to the games because you can only have like two. Each player gets like 2 tickets. That's all you get, and but the media can go, and then is everyone just wearing whatever mask they want, or is there a standard athletic mask that everybody has?
I drove by a high school the other day. They were playing soccer, and I didn't check to see if the soccer players were wearing masks. It's soccer, all athletes, right? Or is it just football that have to wear the mask?
Everybody. Well, not everybody, I should say, but there's a list. It's soccer and football and and others.
Yeah, like I would imagine maybe
volleyball.
Yeah, maybe
football,
cross
soccer,
country.
volleyball.
Yeah, like maybe cross country, you might not need to wear one.
I don't know. They can pack up pretty good there in the beginning.
That's true. Tennis, you can get away with not No. Well, I meant to type that in the private chat. Now everyone knows we're going to traffic at 42.
All right, 42. Well, I'm glad someone can remind me because I've been missing traffic all day today.
Andy, you're in charge. If any of us forget, remind Kevin to go to traffic at 42.
Clay, send me a text.
Sandy's good at multitasking, so I'm going to put her in charge of that. Here we go. 15 seconds.
This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
Well, lots of parents are thrilled that their high school kids can play sports, but not all are thrilled that their children have to wear masks while doing so. In some cases, the masks make it harder to breathe, while some parents say the masks actually put kids' health at risk. And who are the mask police that are out there making sure the kids are wearing them properly or wearing proper masks that actually prevent the spread of COVID? A small but vocal group of parents rallied at the state capitol in Lansing today in hopes of getting the governor's executive order of wearing masks during practice lifted, and during games for that matter. Joining us now is the state's premier high school sports reporter, Mick McCabe of the Detroit Free Press. Mick, thanks for being here.
Hey, it's wonderful to be with you.
Hey, before we get started, I want to ask you about your new book here, Mick McCabe's Golden Yearbook. You'll be able to get it everywhere in October. Early orders right now. But what I wanted to know is, are there any Dietzes in this book? This is a book about the best high school athletes you've covered over your long career. And there's only one Dietz in that book?
Yeah, it's your baby sister, Diane.
Diane made the book. Okay. Does she know she made the book yet or no?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I did stuff like she made it like in the girls basketball dream teams. She was listed in that earlier this year. And then I think that we also had the 5 best teams in football, basketball, girls basketball too. And she made it in there also.
When you were picking athletes, did you find that more of the top ones were further back in time or were more recent in time, or was it just a big mix?
It was a pretty good mix because I mean, going in, I was hoping for a mix, but you never know. So I went through every all-state team, all 50 of them, each one, and started writing down, names, stuff like that. And there were some from the 70s and 80s. There was a really good mix. I'm really pleased about that.
That's awesome. All right. Mick McCabe's Golden Yearbook, the best high school athletes of all time in Michigan. All right, let's talk about these masks. I assume you've been to football games so far?
Oh, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So what does it look like in real life with the mandate to wear masks in practice and at games?
You know who are being the imbeciles? The assistant coaches. I mean, at Southfield A&T the other day, they're wearing their masks down around their necks. I mean, come on. I mean, the players, the assistant coaches. It's crazy. I mean, if you have to take off your mask to talk to your players, then you're just not a very good, a very effective coach. So wear the damn mask. I mean, her executive order carries the force of law. So you have to wear it. I mean, I have no sympathy for those guys. I don't know I don't know if they're macho men or they think the rules don't apply to them. But there's a lot of us coaches out there who simply aren't wearing them, and it's up to the athletic directors at each school to make sure that they're wearing them. The players, I was at a couple of games last week, and the players were pretty good about wearing it.
Yeah, the players, especially if we're talking football, you have a lot of equipment that you have to wear. So a mask, gets added into the mix. You get used to it. Everybody's wearing one. Does it seem more of just a comfort thing, or do you think parents have a legitimate concern about health risks for their kids because of the masks they're wearing?
The parents whose kids have asthma, it's legit. That concern, because it could impede their ability to breathe. And we've got one, and he's an athlete, and he had trouble breathing because of the asthma. And of course, he was more of a runner,
than anything. And cross country kids do not have to wear masks when they run. But I would imagine football players with asthma, volleyball players with asthma, they would have problems with that.
Yeah, and of course, if you're worried about your kid's health, they don't have to play football. It's optional. They if you're worried, you can sit out. The rules are the rules for now. I don't have any problem with the parents going up to Lansing and holding a rally saying we disagree. We want you to reconsider. The pros aren't wearing face masks. The colleges aren't wearing face masks. Why do we need to wear them? I don't know if they'll get anywhere or not. But did you have any indication or from just the eyeball test, is there any sort of standardized mask? Do we even know, who's deciding what masks to wear and if they work or not as far as preventing the transmission of COVID?
Well, we haven't heard of a lot of cases yet, but it's so early. Who knows? A lot of football players especially, are wearing those gaiters you wear around your neck and you pull them up. And those seem to be the most in vogue right now. I think that the governor, though, is going to have a problem if she says, well, the football players, they don't have to wear them in college. Well, if they don't have to wear them, why would the high school football players have to wear them? So I think that's going to be and she's already, given an exemption to the Detroit Lions. So I don't know how she can say that college players don't have to wear them if she's making high school players wear them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like. In fact, it seems like the younger you are, the less likely you are to catch COVID. Not the other way around. And so, if you're gonna have a rule for high school kids, then it would seem to make sense to be consistent and have it for college kids and pros. But, if they had it in the pros, they probably wouldn't have any games here. And same with college. They'd probably have to play all their games away.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing about the high school kids, though, they may not, they can contract it, but they won't show symptoms and may not become ill, but they can pass it on. And that's the thing that everybody's worried about. The high school kid's going to come home and give it to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa. And that's one thing we definitely have to guard against.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of pictures just from kids at school in the cafeteria, and there's a lot of kids in the cafeteria, and the masks aren't on right there either. It's kind of across the board, the concern of kids catching it and bringing it back home. There was one, I was looking at the rally today in Lansing, and one of the parents was talking about mental health of the kids, how this whole they were talking specifically about wearing the masks and it was creating sort of a mental health concern for the kids. But I worry about the mental health for kids generally, just with all of the COVID and scare and concern that's been going on. As you talk to high school kids, what's your read on how they're doing with all of this COVID?
I think that having sports now, that's changed a lot of things. They can be kids again. They can go out and play football. They can run cross country. They can play soccer. So that's the degree of normalcy that we're getting back to. I think they're just grateful for that. And as far as a psychological thing about kids wearing a mask, my 3-year-old grandson and my 6-year-old, they were wearing them to school. One to daycare and one to school. And it's their parents tell them you have to wear them, and so they wear them. It's when the parents send mixed messages, that's when you've got problems.
All right. So if the rules are the rules, the assistant coaches need to put those masks on. Mick McCabe, thanks for being on the Guy Gordon Show. We appreciate you stopping by.
Great talking to you, Kevin.
All right. We'll talk real soon. After the break, the phone lines are open. If you're still on hold, you don't have long to wait. 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR. Right now, let's check traffic with Michael Stetz.
In Macomb County, an accident on Hayes Road southbound before 19 mile. That has the left lane block, traffic moving slowly from M59. In Oakland County, you're moving slowly on 696 eastbound right now between Coolidge and Cousins Avenue. And in Wayne County, the left lane closed per MDOT until further notice on 75 northbound at Livernois Avenue. Now, WJR weather first from the Weather Channel, sponsored by Chris Furniture. Chris Furniture is offering a special on CR Lane, top-of-the-line sofas, love seats, and chairs with your choice of style, fabric, and colors. Made in the USA from their family to yours. Chris Furniture open by appointment only, 10 a to 4 p, Monday through Saturday. Call 734-427-3080. Now,
Well, beautiful midweek weather continues here in Michigan. High pressure off to the southeast of us, giving us south winds today. And we do make the 80s this afternoon, 81 today. Low tonight, 57. Tomorrow, sunshine, 80 degrees. And upper 70s near 80 Friday into the weekend. Do have some upper level weather energy this weekend, a little more cloud cover and a stray shower. I'm meteorologist Scott Laurie, more on News Talk 760 WJR.
All right. Yeah, Mark, I'm with you. I think there is a mental health challenge for kids. Who knows how this is impacting it. Who knows how it's impacting all of us, but teenagers and young people, it's tough, man. And as far as trying to how healthy a mask is, I just wearing a mask anyway. When I walk through a store and I have a mask on, I don't feel like it. I feel like I'm just breathing my own bad oxygen instead of releasing it. It feels like it's just trapping, germs or whatever.
What I do is, and I've seen this on TV when they were trying to figure out, how porous a mask is. I like to blow into my mask and see how far away I can feel my breath, which I guess is probably defeats the purpose.
Do you get thrown out? Do you get thrown out of a lot of restaurants and stores?
They're like, "Sir, please breathe normally."
This is not the intention.
Yeah.
To see if you could spread COVID while wearing a mask.
Yeah. Well, I think someone was testing them to see if you could blow out a candle with the mask on, and the closer you had to get blowing out the candle, the better the mask was, hypothetically.
And I like the people in the restaurants. Their walk from the table and out of the restaurant, the mask is like on and then off like within 8 seconds. It's like,
yeah, I know.
It's a very, very quick masking up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at this point, I'm used to wearing the mask. Obviously, I'm not doing any physical strenuous activity. I'm just doing my normal walking. But I mean, I do like it. Is nice taking it off and taking in a deep breath. But it doesn't bother me. So let's see. Okay, we got full lines. Well, not full lines.
Laura reshuffled. Is that what her dots mean?
That's the international sign for reshuffling.
So, Dave, Tim, Mark, Allen.
Hold on, you took yourself out.
It's freezing. My computer's.
Hello.
I'm going to restart my computer for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you're up on our computers, so.
Are we correct in that your line of dots is the sign for reshuffled?
It is.
See, we're learning.
Yeah, I can't even get.
Mine did that the other day when who did we tape with yesterday? I forget the name. Ann Bolin.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
My laptop froze. And I know we were having some issues with her phone, so I thought her phone was dropping. It turned out just my laptop took a dive.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. But it didn't affect the taping because we have it up on multiple computers. Let's see here. All right, back in 15 here.
This is The Guy Gordon Show on News Talk 760 WJR. Here's special guest host Kevin Dietz.
I was just reading that in San Francisco, they're going to vote in November to lower the voting age to 16. If they pass that, people 16 years old will be able to vote in San Francisco. Not sure how young is too young, but we'll see what happens out there if they think 16 is the right age. You are listening to The Guy Gordon Show, 1-800-859-0957, 1-800-859-0WJR with Laura Hessen and Mike Parsons and Marie Osborne and Mike Stetz on traffic. We've been taking your calls, and we're going to get right back to it right now. Let's check in with Dave in Rochester Hills. Dave, thanks for being on The Guy Gordon Show.
Hi, good afternoon, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I think there needs to be a little better job of fact checking. A lot of these things put out today, this most recent few callers on the issue of polling, as well as the law in these states, Virginia and now Florida, on felons who have served their time being able to vote. Starting with the polling. One gentleman says, you check out RCP. I said, that doesn't sound right, because I look at that quite often. So I went back, and sure enough, he specifically said Clinton was further ahead of Trump at this point. Okay. Well, and guess what? The five national polls in September had Clinton ahead 5 points. The 7 national polls right now in September, all in September, Clinton had Biden ahead in Michigan by 7 points. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the polling's pretty accurate. It's in general point. Michigan, she ended up 3.6 ahead and lost by 0.3. So, it was one of the few states among the 50 states, if you look at the RCP final averages of polls, 46 of them were accurate. Trump took 3 of them. Okay, granted, Wisconsin was outside that 4-point lead. Michigan was at 3.9. Pennsylvania was even closer as far as those that flipped. And of course, Nevada went the other way. It was only like 0.2 points. So the polling's pretty accurate. And it's not boding well for Trump this time around based on where they were at. Look at where we'll be the night before. But if it's the night before, you start to see poll averages that are 4 points or more. There's a darn good bet. And normally all the odds making sites, including 538, probably will have them a 4-1, 80-20 odds. They've been pretty darn accurate, despite the fact that, like for instance, 538 did give Trump the final odds. Nate Silver here from Michigan State, his 538 site, did give him 28% chance, 28 in 100 of winning. Right now, he's got 23. Trump has 23 versus 77 for Biden. On the matter of the felons.
But before you get to felons, Dave, did you get the impression in 2016 that it was going to be this close, or that Trump was going to win based on polls?
Yeah, sure. I got the all I had to do is drive to Western Michigan, drive around. You see the kind of mood in Pennsylvania. I looked at the primaries in those respective states, and they were ripe for upsets, and they weren't that big of upsets against the polls, Pennsylvania and Michigan. Now the other one, of course, as I can see, Wisconsin was a whopping 6.5%. Okay, but that one was a surprise, but not Pennsylvania or not Michigan. And the other states, by the way, Florida was again, the polling averages had Trump slightly ahead at the final one, as did they for North Carolina and Arizona and so on and so forth. Getting back to the felons, the issue down there is not that they're going to court about whether or not felons who served their time can vote. It was the fact as Ron DeSantis put in that proviso. Okay, so all Bloomberg did was said, look at, I'm taking that obstacle away. If you have $1,500 or less of restitution, I'm taking that obstacle away to vote. There's nothing possibly that could go to court on that. He's not making a proviso. So long as you give me a validation, or as long as you vote for Democrats, no. It's the same. And then the other caller on that, it might have been the same caller. He went to Virginia. Okay, well, the governor was Terry McAuliffe. Okay, Terry McAuliffe had a law that required him to sign for all he had to do was sign, and he individually stamped or approved the approvals, and that was valid. Then they mentioned about the $700,000 that Clinton gave his wife. No, it was McCullough who gave $700,000 to FBI deputy or assistant director at the time, Andy McCabe's wife. Okay, Andy McCabe was a registered Republican. His wife was running in Virginia as a Democrat, as many wives and husbands often are from different, can quite often be from different parties. So, lastly, lastly, I know these people think the debate. I don't know if they watched like the last two town halls, but they think that it's going to be a knockout. I think they're going to be sadly mistaken and surprised. And the other thing they need to know is Chris Wallace is moderating it. So I think you put all those things together, the CNN town hall with Biden, ABC stepping off of this one with Trump. I don't know why they're so confident that this polling thing is going to go that good. Not to mention the one a week behind the vice president one. Okay.
All right, Tim. I gotta let Mark get in here, but I appreciate you calling. I appreciate the fact checks, and I think you're right. I think it's going to be a pretty good debate. We'll see next week. Mark from Davisburg, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I just had a story for you. Obama's first election when he was running. I took my 17-year-old son. He wanted to see how you vote. We went to our polling place, and a smart bus from Flint came in. About 30 people came off. An elderly lady looked over and she goes, "I'm not doing nothing until you give me the sandwich you promised." And my son looked at me and goes, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm not sure." So we went in. I know the polling ladies. I talked to one of them and I said, "What's going on?" All the vacant and empty houses that were for sale in our town registered people from Flint to come over to vote. And they used the actual public busing to haul them over there to vote.
Well, hopefully somebody's keeping an eye on these things, Mark, and hopefully those votes, are only the proper votes from people who are allowed to vote are actually voting. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We don't have time for Alan and Taylor, who is going to tell us about some pro coaches who were wearing plastic masks this week, and Ed from New Baltimore, who is going to tell us if they restore the right to vote, we should restore the right to carry firearms as well. Thanks for listening in today. We appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow. Thanks to all the callers and everyone on Facebook Live. We appreciate you stopping by the Guy Gordon Show today. Right now, let's check in with traffic and Michael Stetz.
All right. I'm signing up because my computer is so slow today.
Yeah, having some
Not only
trouble.
that, I'm going home.
All right, guess we'll do it one more time tomorrow, huh, Kev?
All right. Congratulations on a successful picture day to both of you. Laura, you yesterday. And
I was your guys' guinea pig.
Mike, you today. That's right. That's good. All right.
Well, I don't know how successful. I haven't gotten the proofs yet back.
Will you sign a copy of one for me? I want to give my WJR collector cards.
Dear Kevin, keep reaching for the stars. Your pal Mike.
All right, BFFs forever. Best friends forever.
That's right. Yeah, I'm coming over to your pool next summer.
I like it. All right,
everyone.
All right. Hey,
See you
thanks,
tomorrow.
Facebook, for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate it. All right. See ya.